You're watching UATV News. My name is Ina Kosinska. Good evening. A nationwide quarantine instead of an adaptive one. New epidemiological rules are in effect throughout Ukraine since today. Nevertheless, it is not so easy to curb the pandemic. Anti-records are set in many cities. Our correspondent will tell you more.
From today onwards, all Ukrainian regions will live up to the regulations of the orange epidemic zone. This indicates a ban on the mass events of more than 20 participants. Halls in theaters and cinemas must be half empty. The same norm operates in public transport. Restaurants can be open maximum till 10 p.m., while nightclubs are simply banned.
Simple quarantine and personal protection measures can break the epidemic chain. Unfortunately, we have nothing to treat the coronavirus infection. To date, no effective drug that has a specific viral heterotropic effect has been developed in the world. Therefore, we must work to break the epidemic chain.
The Ukrainian capital used to be the anti-leader by the number of infected, plus 879 during the past day, with 79 hospitalized patients. As a result, the Kyiv key clinics are more than half full. Almost 1,200 beds are equipped with oxygen supply. Today, municipal medical institutions have more than 460 ventilators and more than 160 oxygen concentrators. And in the nearest future, we are looking to purchase 130 more. Another 221 people tested positive and 16 died of COVID-19 in the Donetsk region. In addition to the shortage of beds and medical personnel, local hospitals are in need of oxygen concentrators supply. They are expected to arrive from China only by the end of December. As far as we know, all the oxygen concentrators we ordered were loaded on a ferry contracted from China to Ukraine. As soon as the ferry arrives, we expect to have these devices. A new coronavirus anti-record is set in the Dnipropetrovsk region. 847 people with COVID-19 over the past day. 7 of them were hospitalized to Mechnikov Regional Hospital at night. 88 patients are already being treated there. Recently, doctors managed to save the lives of 2 severely ill patients. They are transferred from the intensive care unit to the therapeutic department. Namely, these 2 patients underwent therapy, which in fact was twice the standard prescribed in such situations. On top of the protocol drugs, we gave 7 more that allowed them to survive. And we succeeded. Already Yuri has already talked to their relatives for them to get ready to the worst case scenario. Well, it turned good finally. I'm very glad. Over the past 24 hours, 9,832 COVID-19 cases have been registered in Ukraine. The incidence rate had traditionally slightly decreased after the weekend. 94 patients died, 2,753 recovered. Reported by Nick Starkov, Vlad Surkan, UATV News.
Weekend quarantine kills small business. Due to restrictions set to deal with COVID-19, entrepreneurs are losing profits and are forced to close their establishments. The government, therefore, plans to provide support to Ukrainian businesses. Our journalists have more details.
Weekend quarantine. The first weekend under the new rules deprived entrepreneurs of a quarter of their turnover. We went to work after the lockdown, which was at the beginning of the quarantine. We are working and trying to restore work. In general, we are not talking about any profit. Weekends bring the most profit when we make obligatory payments at the beginning of the week. If we don't work for so long, it will lead to a massive bankruptcy. In order to stay afloat, restaurants and cafes were allowed to work on weekends, but either for takeout or with delivery home. But even in these conditions, entrepreneurs barely managed to make ends meet. We worked only on the takeaway. Of course, on weekends there are more customers because we work in a residential district and people come here for pizza with children because on weekends they work. Working on weekends would much better for us. Private entrepreneurs from Dnipro boycotted weekend quarantine. On Saturday and Sunday, restaurants and cafes were open as usual. We decided that we will continue working and we invited everyone. Moreover, we had some kind of banquet or some pre-orders in advance that people have already paid for and food has already been purchased. We have not cancelled anything. Mayors of Cherkasy, Lviv, Ternopil, Rivne, Odessa, Mykolaiv, Lutsk, Kramatorsk, Slovyansk and Mukachevo opposed to new rules. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal held an online meeting with local authorities and said the government is trying to find a balance between saving the country from coronavirus and business from bankruptcy. people are at home on weekends and do not create a large flow and crowds, the high earnings of the industries on Saturday and Sunday are just proof of the fact that the huge numbers of people spend time on the food and entertainment industry. Today we have a number of tools that have proven themselves in the spring. We're also working on developing new programs. We have up to 7 instruments we are going to introduce this week to support the industries that suffer the most. Amid protests of private entrepreneurs, the Verkhovna Rada is planning to consider a decree on the abolition of the weekend quarantine this week.
On the contrary, we must support all those who work, earn money, pay taxes and provide for their own families. That is why I propose to consider a new bill this week. It is going to help.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy called the introduction of weekend quarantine the right step. At an online meeting, he was informed that thanks to the innovation, it was possible to reduce movement and contacts between Ukrainians. Reported by Nick Starkov, Artem Golub, Kyiv, UATV News.
President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy congratulated Maia Sandu on her victory in the presidential elections in Moldova. They took place the day before. 100% of the ballots have already been processed. Maia Sandu is 15.5% ahead of the incumbent president Ihor Dodon. Volodymyr Zelenskyy invited Maia Sandu to Kyiv and thanked her for supporting the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Congratulations to Maia Sandu on winning the presidential elections in Moldova. I look forward to further strengthening relations between Ukraine and Moldova for the European future of our nations.
The European Union is preparing new sanctions against Belarus after the death of Roman Bondarenko. The protester died on November 12th as a result of severe beating. The European Union has already expanded the sanctions list against the authorities. 55 people fell under the restrictions, in particular Alexander Lukashenko. They are prohibited from entering European countries and their assets in the EU are frozen.
EU foreign ministers are set to give green light to a third EU sanctions package on Belarus on Thursday when they meet via VTC. The killing of Bondarenko has speeded things up.
Become a barista for an hour in order to make money for charity. This social initiative was launched in Dnipro. Famous people are offered to sell coffee and all earnings should be given to those who need financial assistance the most. More details are next.
Mind that I didn't ask you what you want, because I can only make cappuccino.
Okay, I'll have a cappuccino. Vlada Mikoluk works as a barista for the first time. She says she worries because she wants to brew coffee correctly. She says that everything is important in this process, from grinding the grains to the temperature of the milk.
The foam on the top should be simple and glossy, because if the bubbles are big or overheated, no one will drink it.
Vlada is a journalist and initiator of dozens of social projects. She decided to become a barista for an hour, but first she took a short training course.
I made an espresso according to the rules. Plus, we learned how to whip milk, first using soapy foam, then we took milk itself.
The concept of the Barista for an Hour project is simple. All the money earned by coffee sales is donated by the temporary barista to any charity. When Valeria found out about the action in social networks, she came here for a cup of espresso.
We unite our efforts together in order to help people, and the sums can be different.
Within the frameworks of the project, 24 famous people from Dnipro have already agreed to become baristas. Among them are bankers, top managers, marketers, athletes and journalists. Equipment, coffee and milk for an hour are provided by the coffee shops. This also contributes to social initiative. Being the author of the idea, Vlada was the first to take part in the project. She sold half a dozen cups of coffee and earned about $32.
I had cold feet. Clients who did not know that you're doing a charity event here, they just come for coffee. They have a demand to get good coffee. And you start telling them, oh, I can't make beautifully here. You know, they don't care. They have a requirement thinking you're a professional barista. Only you know that you're a complete beginner.
Vlada decided to give all the money she earned to a charitable foundation. Its employees are gathering $35,000 for treatment of a 1-year-old boy with atrophy of the spinal muscles. If they manage to gather a full amount, the boy will have a chance for a full life. Reported by Nick Starkov, Natalia Huzak, Volodymyr Shtangelov, UATV News.
Hollywood Technologies and Classic Art, an innovative art project, has been launched in Ukraine. Video versions of performances with the integration of 3D copies of actors and scenery will be demonstrated for free. The first online show will take place on November 17th.
The first 10 online performances in 3D will be free of charge.
Now everyone will have such an opportunity. It will be possible to see performance «Камінний господар» based on Lesa Ukrainka work for free in one's computer or smartphone. The play itself will be staged at theatre in Podil, in the heart of Kiev at Andreevsky Descent.
The premiere is planned for November 17th. The performance can be watched simultaneously by 2,500 people throughout the country.
The start time of your premiere is 5 p.m., 7 p.m. and 9 p.m.
According to the organizers of the project, actress Dasha Malakhova and producer Natalia Chizhova, in some 10 days, nearly 70,000 people will watch the performances.
We elaborated the main mission and the main value of our project to make our performance and theatre accessible to everyone, bring it to every home, to every smartphone, to every citizen of Ukraine.
Theatre 360 Degrees has to show the versatility of theatrical art, while in the whole the viewers observes the picture from only one angle. The technology will allow him to feel like a spectator in the performance.
The atmosphere of the theatre can be conveyed only in the theatre. We don't think that our project can replace the theatre, but on the other hand, those who have already seen our draft material all have the same comment, kinda, we did not think one could see the actor so closely, see his emotion, his eyelashes, reaction.
The project is innovative and unique. For the first time, 3D copies of actors have been introduced into a theatre production in Ukraine. The technology used in Hollywood will show everything that cannot be expressed in words. Reported by Nick Starkov, Tetiana Blinova, Yuri Shulga, UATV News.
The title of the most powerful person on the planet now belongs to Ukrainian. Alexei Novikov from Kyiv won the world's strongest man power athletics competition in Florida. In the deadlift, he set a world record, 537.5 kilograms. For Ukraine, this is the third victory in the history at the tournament. The 24-year-old Alexei also became the youngest, strongest athlete in the world.
It's wonderful, exciting, and I make history. It's unbelievable. Won all competition in year, like European strongest man, world strongest man, world ultimate strongman, Arnold Classic. I won all competition in 1 year. Now I won this competition, the top level in the world, and now I can rest.
That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, Facebook, Twitter and YouTube pages. Stay safe and good night.